Hello, everybody. Welcome to Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk. We are live here in a discreet location in Southeast Iowa, undisclosed. And
Top secret.
Top secret. I'm here with my crew, Hunter Muller, over there, my lovely co-host, and Nick Steffens running all the buttons that we don't know how to run. And so
Right.
If you are new to the show, we are on episode 7. Right? 7 or 8, one of the two. It's getting so high. But we're in such a...
Now we're just in such a groove, it doesn't,
It's such a groove.
The days go by. And
did Johnny Carson know what late night he was on every night? No.
Sure, no way.
We're just like him. So we talk a little bit of high school sports, a little bit of small college sports, a little bit of everything, I guess. And so you can catch us on Washington Lives, YouTube, Washington Lives, Facebook, Mount Pleasant Lives, Facebook, Fairfield Lives, Facebook, and we are also on Spotify, so we ask you to give the world of video a chance. I know you're sitting there, you're thinking, why do I need video? I have the newspaper, that's the king of all media. It's all right here. Why do I need to hear you say it? Just sit tight for 30 minutes and you'll find out, hopefully.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump into some high school football. And Hunter, you were at Fairfield's homecoming game, and it was a happy homecoming for the Fairfield Trojans.
Yeah, coming into this game against they went up against West Burlington Notre Dame, and coming into this one, Fairfield was, they had a couple close ones came out on the winning end, so can't complain about this one. But I know they wanted to start fast, and they did. They ended up winning this one 53-7. First drive for them, fourth play from scrimmage, 75-yard touchdown from Tate Allen to Talon Bates, and that was kind of the story of the night. Mm-hmm. They scored, and they just kept scoring in bunches. Tate Allen, they ended up scoring 32 in the first half, led 32-0. West Burlington Notre Dame got into the red zone a couple times in that first half, but once was a turnover and once was picked off in the end zone. So Fairfield's had a very good defense so far this year. They haven't allowed a lot of points, and we saw it once again then. But story of the night: Tate Allen threw for 246 yards. I mentioned he had 5 first half passing touchdowns. Wow. 2 of those, I mentioned the 75-yard touchdown to Talon Bates, but then Talon Bates had a 90-yard touchdown later on in that first half. Yeah, he is, and he was just blown by the the Falcons secondary there for some big yardage. But Allen had 5 touchdowns first half. He'd finished with 6 on the night, 1 on the ground in the fourth quarter. Only completed 7 passes, but threw for 246 yards. We talked a lot about. Fairfield's running game after losing Hunter Zashini. I know we've been talking about that. Tate Allen did work on the ground. He was pretty much doing everything for him out there. 19 carries, 143 yards. I mentioned that 1 touchdown in the fourth quarter. On the receiving end, I mentioned Talon Bates, 2 receptions, 165 yards from those 2 big catches there. And then Max Wheaton had a quiet night. Usually, that's kind of the go-to receiver, but teams are keen on them. Or keen in on him. So 2 receptions, 25 yards. And then Bode Hoskins also was another name that kind of popped up. We haven't seen a lot from. 3 receptions, 56 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Wheaton did have a touchdown on one of his 2 receptions. So, Coach Wheaton was talking about, it's nice to see that they have, this game kind of showed that they have other weapons. And when people are keen on Wheaton and things like that, they have other options to go to, and they have that speedy wideouts. So, overall big win for Fairfield in this one. I know after those couple close calls in an overtime, couple 1-point wins of Keokuk and Knoxville, I knew they were happy to kind of win in blowout fashion in this one.
Yeah. Well, and they're 2-0 in the district now, which we said that's going to be one of the most competitive districts, and here we are. They got a pretty tough one this week with Solon coming, but it's a 2-0 on 2-0 showdown, so first place on the line this week.
Yeah, if you want to just jump right into the next one, you mentioned Solon. That's who Washington had to go and face this last week here, and the Demons fall in this one 44-0. And obviously, Solon's the favorite in the district. They were at the beginning of the season. It was a tough night all around for the Demons. They had a couple big turnovers here down in Solon territory that kind of really just put a damper on what they wanted to do, and their turnovers turned into 21 points for Solon, and then by the end of the first quarter, Solon led 28-0, or had a 28-point lead. So, just overall a tough matchup against a tough Solon Spartan squad there, and obviously after those first couple wins there for Washington, they've been in kind of a rut. So, they only finished with 116 total yards of offense in the game, and I think that just attests to what Solon's doing up there. Obviously, they've been good for a long time now. So, just another tough week for the Demons.
That's going to be tough because Washington's offense had been struggling going into that Grinnell game last week, right? And they got it flowing a little bit, and then of course they have to go against one of the best defenses you're going to go against. So that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's not much. I don't know what you can say. Just we're seeing that Solon just kind of running the roost. I get. Again this time around, but like you said, they're traveling over to Fairfield. It's not easy to play there, so we'll see what happens with those two teams going at it.
And Washington's got at Keokuk a long drive, but they definitely got winnable games from here on out. And
that's going to be a really good matchup.
Yeah, that will
because there's both teams are good on defense or have a really good defense, so it's going to be a real defensive battle in there. We're going to see if Washington's offense can kind of get rolling in that one. But
that's kind of the battle of teams that have been losing close games too. So we'll have to see. Something's got to give. Well, I was in Mount Pleasant. I actually saw a little bit of your Fairfield game because it had a 7:00 start. So I saw a couple of those touchdowns, and I headed on to Maple Leaf Athletic Complex, and Mount Pleasant had a wagon of a team to I'm not going to make the wagon wheel bar and grill reference I did last week because that seems like a cheap shoehorn, but a wagon of an Iowa City Liberty team that had only played Class 5A teams, ranked Class 4A teams, the best of the best going into the game at Mount Pleasant. They won 68-6, Liberty did. Their quarterback, Graham Beckman, is a superstar. I think on Twitter, I was looking up on Twitter and someone had called him the surgeon, and that's kind of what he did. They spread it out 5 wide, and he just throws it all over the place, and it's nearly impossible to stop. He had 6 touchdown passes in the first half. 5 of those were in the first quarter. So very good, and it was tough night for Mount Pleasant. They got a little bit going in the second half at least. Jacob Rickman had a nice pass to Garrett Cook in the end zone. It was a strike, honestly. Like that touchdown pass was really nice. And in fact, Rickman threw for 111 yards and a touchdown, so completed 11, which is still below his average. But Carter Amos had 7 catches for 65 yards. But it was just a tough. And Mount Pleasant's got 2 of those teams because they're in the 4A district. They have Liberty and North Scott, which are 2 super, teams that could be playing at the state tournament, at the Dome. So it's wasn't easy for all Mount Pleasant. They got Burlington for homecoming week this week, though. Happy Mount Pleasant. Happy homecoming to all our Mount Pleasant watchers.
When you look at that district and looking at Liberty and North Scott, it seems like they're in that upper echelon against everybody. Everybody else in Liberty. Especially up there being, I know they're ranked like 4th and 7th in a couple different polls there, but obviously they've been playing the toughest opponents in the state. So Mount Pleasant struggled on the defensive end, and I think Liberty definitely took advantage of that. Upon plus being one of the better teams in the state.
One of the superstar teams. Yeah, it's tough, and so Fort Madison is undefeated. Period. They're in that district, and they have Liberty and North Scott back to back. I think.
Wow,
so.
You want That's tough to have those 2 teams back to back.
Yeah, it's tough because a lot of the local teams here are really close together. Obviously Fort Madison and has been playing better than Mount Pleasant and stuff, right. but at least there's some competitive games going on. Burlington, you can throw on that, and then Liberty and North Scott are just so good. So tough one for all Mount Pleasant. I wish there was better news, but it's homecoming week, so we'll see. I saw some toilet paper in the trees driving through Mount Pleasant, so they've already started it, and we'll see if they can have some fun against Burlington.
Cleaning up the toilet paper's got to be.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. Yeah. Well, and I'm a teacher's husband, so I've had to do it. Back when she worked at Harmony, I actually popped in the window and scared a kid that was TPing our house. And she got scared and ran and fell in the street and scraped up her leg. So then we had to come in and invite her. It was tough.
Man.
It was tough. It was funny.
You were like, you deserve it. No.
But of course. But it was all good and fun.
Yeah.
Well, we had some more football games with the old roundup here. And some of our small schools picked up some big wins, and one of the biggest wins was for New London. Yep. New London is getting hot at the right time. They have now ascended to second place in the 8-man district. 74-40 against Iowa Valley. 74 points is a lot to score, but also 40 is kind of low to give up to Iowa Valley.
Yep.
It was it was pretty much all New London. They dominated the first half. They're looking good. They look like a playoff team for sure, and it looks like our 8-man playoff schedule is going to be pretty busy.
Oh, yeah, and obviously talk about them being second in the district. Obviously, they've got Lone Tree's coming over to New London this Friday.
Yeah,
so
big game.
They win that one. I think they have HLV. Believe the next week. So, it's definitely the rest of the schedule is in favor of New London. So if they, they've done enough so far. So we'll see what happens. When these last couple weeks and then postseason, what happens where they get put. So, but their team that's was dealing with some injuries kind of midway through the season, and now has been kind of we've seen them kind of back to full strength and playing really well. Winfield, they beat Tri-County 60-0. Winfield scored 40 points in the first quarter alone. We know how dangerous they are. They had 14 in the second, 6 in the third on the way to the 60-point shutout. Cole Milks threw 2 times for 22 yards and a touchdown to win. He also led on the ground, 5 carries for 50 yards and 2 scores. Caleb Giese had 47 yards rushing, Jake Edwards 42. And Edwards had 2 touchdowns as well. And Eli Miller and Abram Edwards had touchdowns to go along with them. Kind of Wolves, Winfield kind of in WMU, one of those teams that are getting hot at the right time. And obviously, you definitely want to be hot heading into this week if you're Winfield going up against, old Waco.
Yeah, they got a tough one with Waco. Number 3 in the Gazette poll, that was not my fault. I did not drop them. Don Bosco beat a team that had 0 wins, and somehow they snuck above Waco in our Gazette rankings. So, not my fault, Waco fans. I still voted you number 2, but they're number 3 now in class, and Hunter doesn't vote. So you can't blame us. Neither does Nick. So, but the now number 3 Waco Warriors beat Lone Tree 42-17 on the road. They just kept rolling. Honestly, this was kind of a close game for Waco standards.
Yeah, it was a 28-7 or something. At one point.
Early on there. So Isaac Oswald threw for 230 and 3 touchdowns. He's been great this year, as we know. Simeon Reichenbacher ran for a couple touchdowns and 125 yards. So ipso facto, just like always, Waco's rolling, and Ole Sheftook had another touchdown catch. He went for 170 yards through the air. So they're rolling. Winfield's rolling, and it's 2 trains going at it.
Yeah,
the one of my favorite.
That'll be
rivalries.
Exciting one to see what happens in that one.
That's right, the red versus the blue. I'll talk about that a little bit towards when we talk about some volleyball. But that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, if we want to keep talking about teams, I guess we keep saying rolling. This is another team that keeps on rolling. Columbus 71 over North Masca 14. 71-14 over North Masca. What else can you say? They scored 28 in the first, 15 in the second, 21 in the third, and 7 in the fourth. Improved to 6-0, and we're starting to see one of the best seasons that the Wildcats over there in Columbus have ever had here. Kane Amagon calling his name once again, 270 yards, 5 touchdowns in the win. Tristan Miller, 47 yards. Trenton Hoback, Cole Storm, and Riley Kalberg all had touchdowns as well. Through the air, we know they like to pass. Sarcastic. Yeah. They went 1 for 1, 3 yards and a touchdown. Jeff Hoback threw one to his brother Trenton. So,
nice.
No one's been able to stop Columbus yet. They haven't cracked They haven't cracked the top 10, I believe.
They're close, though.
We're close. They're like right on the cusp of ranking the top 10. I know some people are thinking they should be in the top 10, but they keep winning. They'll be there eventually.
Jeff Hoback probably said, you guys don't think that we pass? I'll go ahead and throw it to my family members. But Sigourney Keota, speaking of teams right off the top 10, Sigourney Keota, 56-3 over Cardinal. Something got into them a couple weeks ago, and they have looked like the Sigourney Keota of the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And they have a big game this week. And they are going to play Central Decatur, right?
Yep,
yeah, Central Decatur actually coming to the Snake Pit. So good luck. Central Decatur's had a really, really good season. That's a big test for them. Good luck winning the Snake Pit.
Good luck.
We'll see how that one goes. Cole Claren ran for 109 yards and 3 touchdowns. And they had 5 other kids that scored a touchdown, so they just ran all over them.
Yep, moving right along here, Mid Prairie, obviously they took on the giant that is number 2 Williamsburg in Class 2A there. Really just overall tough matchup for the Golden Hawks up there. They trailed by just 14 at the half, 21-7. But Williamsburg turned it up a notch in that second half and scored 35, outscored them 35-0. And Williamsburg, has kind of had the Golden Hawks' number, Mid Prairie's number as of late. With that loss there, Williamsburg now holds a 10-1 record in their last 11 meetings over them. So, but Williamsburg's been one of the top teams in the state, if not just Class 2A, all season long. So, we knew it was going to be a tough one for them heading over there.
Yeah, if you're beating Mid Prairie that often, you got a pretty darn good team. Yeah. So I haven't decided on our. If you look at our game day page on Friday nights, it has the live scoreboard of our top 5 games. I'm still deciding between Mid Prairie's going to Centerville. That's a huge game. That
Oh,
one,
yeah.
and Sigourney Kyoto versus Central Decatur, to throw that up there.
Yep.
Highland scored 30 points against a Wapello team that a lot of people had picked to go pretty far this year. They lost. It was 55 to 30 Wapello. Highland's offense is coming along little by little. They seem to score more every single week. They haven't quite picked up a win, but it was good to see that they were able to score. They scored 22 points in the second half too. They outscored Wapello in the second half. So getting there.
Yeah, it's nice to see. We talk about it pretty much every week. It's nice to see them continue to grow each and every week. And once again, we see here. I can't remember who they play this week, but I'm sure we're going to see it. I'm sure we're going to see that kind of improvement keep moving forward.
Yeah, for sure.
But next we've got Pekin against Lisbon. Lisbon got the better of the Panthers, 49-6 in this one. Pekin didn't score all 6 points until they scored all 6 points in the first quarter. But the Lions put their best scoring together in the quarter and the first as well. Mm-hmm. So they led 21-6 after the first, and then Pekin would never score again. And basically over the course of the game, of the rest of the game, Lisbon just showed that they were kind of the better team in that one, and they pull out that win. So another tough loss there for Pekin. But Pekin's one of those teams that's gotten a lot better since last year. Mm-hmm. Obviously going. Not picking up a win last season, and they've shown a lot of improvement with Luke Long running their kind of offense over there and defense. He's one of the better athletes in our area too. So much improvement from last year for Pekin. Tough loss here, but they've won some good games this year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what more can you say about that?
They got a random non-conference game this week. The last one we have Van Buren. A few of our districts are pretty tough, and so we have some of these games where they run into juggernauts. That's what Van Buren County did this week. That Central Decatur team that's coming to the Snake Pit beat Van Buren County 48-0, and in fact they were up 34-0 at halftime. So
yeah.
So pretty tough one for Van Buren County. They're definitely there's definitely a little gap in that district, and that gap is going to get filled, or at least we're going to have a better idea when Central Decatur comes to the Snake Pit on Friday, which I believe basically is for the district championship at this point. There are a lot of good teams, but it seems like that's that's what it's going to be. And there is one more football game. I don't have my Iowa Wesleyan football today, but Iowa Wesleyan hosted homecoming. It was a pretty spirited event. They had the pep band there. They had some alumni there. They had a couple of alumni at the game this week with Mayville State with some. They brought their own cheerleading pom poms, and in fact, they even jumped the fence to go out and cheer with the cheerleaders for a while towards the end of the game. But it was a clash. It was the first UMAC game for Wesleyan. They won at 42-38. They were trailing 14-7 at halftime. In fact, they're trailing 14-0 at the beginning of the game. Had a huge third quarter. Had a lead, blew it, and then came back with 1 minute left. With 1 minute left, down 38-35. They got a huge fourth down run that went for like 50 yards, and then and that was by Eskia Moses, by the way. That flipped the field, and then with just a minute left, Zach Chevalier caught J.C. Gill on this fancy little. It was 3rd and 12, and they had started like inside the 5, and they got pushed back because of a penalty. And Wesleyan has these speedy receivers out here, and a nice little call. It was 3rd and goal from the 12. It was shotgun, and they just leaked the tight end, Gill, the tight end out in the center there. Nobody touched him. Popped it to him for the game-winning touchdown. So that was pretty great. So huge win for Iowa Wesleyan because Mayville State's one of those teams that they haven't beaten since they've joined the UMAC, and now they have.
We've seen a lot of improvement from Iowa Wesleyan as the season's went on. Obviously, they had that crazy defensive effort where they gave up they allowed the team to
negative 117 yards or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're Iowa Wesleyan, you're feeling pretty good about yourself pulling out a late win there too this last weekend. So
they have a big one. You'll be there at Maple Leaf this weekend, right? And they will be playing Dickinson State, the conference favorite. If they win that game, then it is a real thing. So they have a lot of talent. Dickinson State's super super good. But we'll see if they can pull it out.
Should be a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a men from the boys weekend a little bit, I think, for high school and college. So and speaking of separating the men from the boys, that's what we're going to do right now, because the men are going to stick through this 30-minute commercial break and catch us on the other side. So boys, I guess we'll see you next week.
Federation Bank is a locally owned bank providing award-winning customer service. We believe that we are more than just a federation of banks, but a federation of communities, serving Brighton, Richland, Wellman, and Washington, Iowa. Federation Bank's highly skilled staff is here to make sure you are able to accomplish your personal and professional goals, whatever they may be. Federation Bank, your family bank.
And we're back. We tricked you on that one. It was actually a minute break. Shout out Federation Bank, our new commercial sponsor there. So
Yeah.
we're going to have some, by the end of the year, those breaks are going to be like an hour long with how many sponsors.
We'll be
are
back in maybe like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you can take that to the bank. No pun intended. We had some volleyball last night, and one of my favorite events of the year is the Southeast Conference 2-day tournament, which take place this Tuesday, last night, if you're watching this on Wednesday, and then next Tuesday. Hunter, you were at day one in Washington. What'd you see?
First off, I'll say, we've seen all season long that these teams have been pretty much neck and neck. It's been a toss up every single night. These two, teams from the SEC kind of go at it. We never know who's going to win. It was the same last night in Washington for the first round of the tournament there. At the end of the night, Burlington was the lone team to come out of there with an unblemished record. They were the only team that didn't pick up a loss on the night. Fort Madison, Mount Pleasant each played two. The other teams played three. So we'll just run through here what kind of what transpired in each of those matches. Mount Pleasant to start the night, they took on Burlington. They won the first set 25-23, but the Greyhounds bounced back 25-11, 15-9 to take that first match there. In their second match of the night, the Panthers got the better of Keokuk, handling them 25-15 and 25-20. For Fairfield, they got a pair of wins in their three matches today. They swept Fort Madison 26-24, took the second 25-15, and then they took on Washington. For our Union teams there, a little rivalry between those two. Washington gave them a fight, but Fairfield prevails 25-22. Washington won the second 14-25, and then close one to end it. Fairfield takes a 15-13. And the third match of the night, Keokuk, handled the Trojans pretty well, 25-10, 25-11, so a little sweep there to end their night, which I know they wouldn't have liked. But for Washington, it was a tough outing. They lost all three. They lost to Keokuk 25-20, 25-21, and then lost to Fairfield, and then they lost to Burlington to end the night 30-28 and 25-23. Well, they won the first one 30-28, and then lost 25-23 and 15-13 in that one. So like I said, Burlington, a lone team to come out of there without a loss. But if you're looking at this, round two's coming up, and if you're Mount Pleasant, obviously you've got three matches to play.
Yep, a lot ahead of them.
And Fairfield's right there with the one loss. Those two teams are going to be, Fairfield's going to be playing Burlington. So if Burlington gets that loss there, Mount Pleasant, Fairfield could easily squeak in, and it's going to go be down to the wire who's going to win. And we're going to see that again. And obviously, Washington can just, hope to kind of build up next week to pull out some wins in that second round.
Yeah, as you said on the way up here, Washington could have very well went 3-0 last night.
Right.
And they were on.
They went 3-1 and 2-1 in every single match.
Mount Pleasant probably should have went 2-0 because
Right.
they have that lead on Burlington. So you never know. It's crazy. You never knew who was going to win that thing. I guess Burlington's the leader in the clubhouse, but it's going to be pretty crazy. And we've got some other Union area battles next Tuesday too, because Mount Pleasant saw us play Fairfield, Washington saw us play Mount Pleasant.
Last time Mount Pleasant played Washington, it went to 5 sets. So
wire.
It's literally being decided by 3 points or less most of the time. Obviously, we have a couple big wins like Fairfield, getting swept by Keokuk, which we were kind of surprised about, but literally it can go either way. So
yeah. Well, that's pretty wild, and I was at a wild one myself. Hunter, the GIF of the Undertaker, the old WWF wrestler, rising from the coffin, where
lights go out, all of a sudden the lights come on, he's standing behind you.
Yeah. Well, there's this one GIF where he's laying in the coffin, then it looks like he's dead, then he rises like that. Nothing in human history has been that GIF more than the Winfield Mount Union volleyball team last night because they played at Waco. It was a renewal of the rivalry. They had not played. They played in the tournament this year, a little tournament this year, but they had not played a real 5-set match since 2016.
Man.
Obviously, these guys are chief rivals, but Waco was in the South Division of the Super Conference, and Winfield Mount Union won it in 5. Waco dominated the first 2 sets. I was at that point thinking, they dominated. I mean, Emma Wagler played really well. Ella Kissel played really well. They dominated the first 2 sets. I'm overheating a little bit, honestly, so I'm going to have to step away for a second here. But Winfield came storming back. It was a huge win there on top of the North. And it was a huge win, as I said. It was a huge game for Brady Buffington and Melina Epping, 2 seniors. And I'm going to let you do the roundup because I have to actually step aside for just a quick second.
You're good.
Gather myself.
You're good, man. First off, we'll just jump right in here. We got Pekin, Van Buren County played at the Pekin Quad. We'll just kind of run through this here. Van Buren went 1-2. They defeated Pekin 21-12, 19-21, 15-13. Pekin went 0-3. Tough one for the Panthers there. They lost to both Centerville and Davis County. A showdown between the Warriors and Panthers. Ivy Davison led Van Buren with 9 kills. Annabelle Cormeyer had 18 assists, and Olivia Batten had 8 digs. Pekin was led by Kylie Fitzsimmons and Casey Miller. Both had 4 kills each. Quinlan Baker dished out 8 assists, and Alex Parsons had 12 digs. Next up on the list here, we've got number 11 Mid Prairie in Class 3A, beats Tipton 3-1. The Golden Locks have been one of the best teams in our area this season. Just recently won the New London tournament as well. Mid Prairie nearly swept Tipton in this one. They ended up settling for a 4-set win there, 25-23, 25-12, and 23-25. Lost that third one, and then they won the last set, 25-19. Landry Pacia led the Golden Hawks with 13 kills. She also dished out 17 assists. She's been huge for them. She's kind of been their leader on both sides of assisting and kills. Jody Evans had 9 kills, 23 digs, and 18 assists, and Dakota Mitchell finished with 22 digs. Moving right along here, we got number 11, West Burlington, big matchup here. Number 11 in 2A, taking on number 15, Class 1A, New London. This was another classic between these two, Southeast Conference or Southeast Super Conference South rivals. They went to 5 sets. Tigers led early in the 5th set, but West Burlington escaped with the win, taking it 20-25, 25-16, 27-25, 19-25, and 17-25. So Natalie Burden was stellar, spiking the ball in that one. She had 38 kills in the loss. Sophie Malott had 19. Cameron Lair finished with 10. Ellie Manning had 76 assists for New London, and M&I finished with 58 digs. We'll keep moving on here. Waco 3, Wapello 0. Andy was just talking about that matchup last night with Waco and Winfield. 2 great teams going at it. Waco's been very good all season long. I mean, they were undefeated for a long time. First loss came in the Southeast tournament or Southeast Super Conference tournament to Holy Trinity. But last night, Waco wins it 25-16, 25-20, 25-18. Ella Kissel and Emma Wagler, 9 kills apiece. Grace Colba had 30 assists, and Jocelyn Fulton had 18 digs.
Hunter, I have to interrupt you for a second because I left you in a rough spot because I just had a little medical issue, so we're all right.
You good?
I think you might have the wrong roundup up. Winners from last night, you might have it on. I was supposed to do the roundup. Full disclosure, I'm tired, and I got my new Clark Kent glasses right here, and something with the lights, it made me feel like I was going to pass out, but I'm good now. I'm good, everyone. As you see, I took my classy sweater off. Winners in volleyball last night.
I do see that this is...
that was tough. I didn't know what to do. That was the first... You never know. It's live. You never know what's going to happen on here. I almost passed.
This is last week's.
That was last week's.
So I was just reading the complete wrong one.
I'm good now. I splashed some water on my face. I got some water. Winners last night: Highland swept Lone Tree. Columbus swept Liza Muscatine. A couple of our teams lost on Monday. New London and Mid Prairie both won. By the way, New London ranked number 15 right now in Class 1A. Mid Prairie ranked number 11 in Class 3A. So I apologize. It was the glasses, and I'm a little tired. And I looked up at the light, and then back at my computer, and then back at the camera, and saw my pretty face, and I just fainted. Took me back to high school. So now we're gonna jump onto some cross country again. I apologize for that. That was a crazy situation.
Well, you're good. I'm glad you came in because I was just rolling through the last week's list.
You're talking Waco. I was like, Waco. I saw Waco last night. They definitely weren't at Wapello.
Yeah, that's where I was. I was like, oh, this seems a little weird.
Yeah, well, you had to scramble because I was having an episode over here.
Well, I clicked on the volleyball one. First one I saw, and then it just happened to be the wrong one, not the top of the list.
That's great TV right there. We almost saw a man collapse. I was at Hillcrest Academy for some cross country on Monday. Shout out to the Washington cross country teams. They got second in that. Both boys and girls, which is the team that won was Pella, who's ranked number one in both boys and girls for 3A. So it was another big win. Mike Reese got second for them. The girls only lost by 24 points, which they're both ranked 13 and 14th. We're living in a post Andy medical world now. So by the way, shout out to Dr. Pepper, our not sponsor, but I didn't think you guys were going to see my Trust Me, I'm a Doctor shirt. But
I'm just glad you're all right. I'm glad you didn't.
I'm glad I'm all right too.
I'm glad you didn't faint right there when you were
I almost
chair,
did.
like,
I almost did. Something happened with the light.
I look at Nick and be like, hey man.
Hey, the Clark Kents, they look fashionable, but it takes a couple weeks to get used to them. So on the girls' side, Washington second, Fairfield third, Mount Pleasant fourth. Belle Mater had a great race for Mount Pleasant, by the way. Top 10 as a senior leader for them. They're getting a little more healthy on the girls' side. And I thought that Fairfield ran really well on the girls to take third there. On the boys' side, Washington second, Danville Newline in fourth, Mount Pleasant fifth. So there you go. It was a tough one. And it's a tough course. I feel like I just ran the Hillcrest cross country course because there are some big hills. There's some big hills. And there were some kids, they were having to help them across the line because that's a tough one. But all I did was walk in here, start a show, and then look at some lights. So how did Mid Prairie do in their meet this weekend?
Well, yeah, Mid Prairie and Columbus headed up to Wartburg this past weekend to take part in the Steve Johnson Dan Houston Invitational. It's one of the more decorated cross country invitationals in the state. There's a lot of teams there. When I was looking through the list, they're split up into kind of two different groups for boys and girls. And there were about 22 to 24 teams in each of those groups. But as you might expect, it was a pretty good day for the Golden Hawk girls. Obviously, there's some big competitors there. The Mid Prairie girls finished 11th on the day with 272 points. The boys finished 20th with 551 points. As mentioned, Columbus was there. The boys had a pretty nice showing, 19th with 548 points, and then the girls, I messed up there. Wildcat boys finished 13th with 394 points. The girls finished 19th with 554 points. A name that we've called is Daniel Hostetler. We've known that she's one of the better cross country runners in the area. She finished fourth with a time of 18 minutes and 11 seconds. She continues a great season for herself. The boys were led by Emmett Schwarzenberger. He finished 76th. For Columbus, Damian Vergara was the top finisher for the boys, finished 35th with a personal best of 17 minutes and 54 seconds. For the girls, Navia Garza led with 24 minutes, 23 second time. She finished 115th. So, pretty good showing for those two schools there. Obviously, the Mid Prairie girls continue to do what they do. Daniel Hostetler continues to do what she does. Yeah, well, she's amazing. Always done, I guess. Yeah, but it's really exciting for those two to take part in that nice little invitational up there.
By the way, the Mid Prairie girls middle school team is absolutely dominant. So that's going to happen for the next.
So it's not slowing down.
Yeah, they dominate. By the way, we got a comment from Dave Johnson over our friend at the Round Guy Radio podcast. Says Hunter, great job saving the show.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
And he says Scotty Melvin, his co-host on his Pick 'em show, has Fairfield on Friday, so that would be a huge win. Yeah, if they win. I'm going to go back to the Waco Winfield volleyball game really quick because I don't even know what I was saying. I was just.
I forgot you were in the middle of that.
Yeah. I wanted to say that was the rivalry took a 5-year pause when Waco was really good the last couple of years. But a stat that amazed me was that Winfield at Union has beaten Waco 18 times in a row in volleyball, which is crazy to me because of how good Waco's been, but they haven't played very much, and Winfield's been good too. But Ella Kissel and Emma Wagler both had 11 kills on that for Waco, but Buffington with 21, Epping with 15. Keely Malone Keely Malone and Grace Coble Malone for Winfield and Coble for Waco are two of the best setters that probably in Class 1A, and so you didn't see a lot of double hits or anything like that. That was high quality basketball and high quality volleyball. See, here we go. Yep. Winfield's Kaylee Neal came in as left there. She's a left-hander junior for them. And after the game, everyone pretty much agreed that her play in the third and fourth sets totally flipped the game. She just had a couple of little popovers, had 3 points in a row there, four kills during the fourth set. So she was a huge boost to them. So Winfield Eaton, overwhelming favorite in the North Division.
Well, just talking about the Southeast Super Conference volleyball and the whole. I mean, you've been here longer than me, but this is. It seems like this year it's like we've had. I don't know if it's ever been like how close it's ever been, but like if you look at how many teams that really could potentially beat the other. I mean, obviously we talk about Winfield was ranked 15th to start the season, and obviously every time they've played New London so far, they've stole a set. They played, I think it was West Burlington in the conference tournament. I believe they took a set from them. If you look at Waco, they were under 11-0, and their first loss came to Holy Trinity, and I believe they stole a set from them. And then you don't have to mention, West Burlington, Notre Dame, and those two going at it, and they've traded blows like all season long. West Burlington just beat them the other night, so. I basically my point is like I don't know like when the last time it's been where it's like so many teams that really could be like a toss up of who could pull it out. Like, because Waco could very well and Winfield be right in the conversation with the New Londons and West Burlingtons and Notre Dames, and obviously we've seen Notre Dame been dominant the last 2 years with 2 state championships.
Yeah.
But.
Well, 2 years ago, New London, Winfield, Mount Union, and Waco were all really good. But Notre Dame was so good at that point when they had everyone. They had a couple transfers there, and when they had everyone there, I tried to go without my Clark Kent didn't work. That even though they were all really good, it was hard to see someone beating Notre Dame in a big game, and they won the state championship. This year, everyone's taken sets from everyone. As you mentioned, Winfield's taken some from Holy Trinity. Waco's look great. When they went to the conference tournament, they all play close. New London's the same. So the brackets for volleyball are supposed to come out on Friday. They usually come out at the end of the day. I forget who told me last year that the Iowa Girls Athletic Union and the Boys Association put those brackets out at the end of the day on Friday. That way, if you try and call and complain, it's over. You got 3 days.
They're gone.
They're gone. You can't call and complain. So this is an exciting show. I think we really. Had some new stuff happen today. So, by the way, I like your Iowa Hawkeye sweatshirt, Kansas City Chiefs hat combo.
I was figuring I rep some. I mean, they didn't get her done against Michigan, but they got her done, so that's good.
Yeah, you know what I'll say? That a lot of times when Iowa Wesleyan's playing at the same time as Iowa, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to miss the Hawkeye game because got to cover Iowa Wesleyan. But sometimes it's like it's a sweet release that I get to walk away from my TV, and that's exactly
you're not going to watch it and be like, I'm
done with this
I'm
game.
depressed now.
Yeah. So that it was a pick-me-up to go to Iowa Wesleyan. So I don't think we have any more house cleaning to do. Anything crazy happen? No.
Oh, not really. Just
not really.
Excited for another. We got a couple more days here of high school sports, and then we're ready for football Sunday on Thursday, Sunday,
That's
whatever.
Right. Football Sunday.
College on Saturday. College football on Saturday, Friday, Saturday.
Some of us that had a rough week picking games this weekend will try and bounce back.
Yep, same.
We're still alive.
Hopefully fantasy goes well.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, hopefully it does. Hopefully everything goes well. Hopefully we're all standing at the end of this episode and this weekend. So shout out to all our sponsors. I usually try and shoehorn you in there, but we got a lot. So thank you guys. Thank you for all our watchers. Washington Live YouTube, Mount Pleasant Live Facebook, Fairfield Live Facebook, Washington Live Facebook, and Spotify. So you don't have to watch us live, but we love it if you do, and we love you if you don't.
You don't want to look at our faces.
That's right. A shout out to my wife, my then girlfriend, now wife, for buying me this awesome Dr. Pepper shirt in college also. So we're going to see you guys next week. Have fun. Stay warm. It's going to be a little chilly on Friday night. So
wear your coats to the football games.
Bring your coats. You'll need them. Better to have them and not need them than need them and not have them. So we'll see you next week.
See ya.